whenever I connect my hand to my opponent, the connection creates a fulcrum. The rotation of my forearm around the fulcrum generates leverage. Because Shavang's head is between my hand and my elbow, I can generate compression force in the direction that my elbow moves. So here's the detail that I'd been missing all along, and that my professor helped me with. For this back choke, you actually want to bring your elbow behind your opponent's shoulder, and I'll explain why that's important later. What I had been doing in the past was essentially trying to X my hands to get the finish. And you can submit people this way, but not good people. No black belt will ever submit to this. So there's this idea that the collar is a rope around your neck, but pulling in opposite directions against yourself when your hands are connected by a rope, that is the net energy dump, because it's all isometric straining that is essentially trying to garrote your opponent with this rope around their neck. So like I said, it's possible to submit a beginner that way, but that's because they're panicked, not because you're actually strangling them. So this isometric squeezing is really inefficient, but there are other reasons why you don't necessarily want to finish this way. Namely, your elbows extend from your body, which is sort of it's not awesome in jiu-jitsu. Any type of arm extension which separates your elbows from your body, and it's, you probably want to be careful about that. Rather than flaring my elbows out, the function of this hand is going to be to keep the gi in place. The function of this hand is going to be the leverage. This hand just keeps the tension in the system. This hand is the lever. So the adjustment that I think really helped me the most is to actually bring my elbow behind my opponent's shoulder. And so taking this back to the one-arm rear naked choke, where your bicep and shoulder wedge your opponent's head into place. With this strangle, the gi gives you more length. The working arm of the lever is longer because you have the gi, and that gives you more mechanical advantage. However, because there's so much more space, because of the length of the beam, it's more important to wedge this head into place. So with this strangle, if I do not bring my elbow past Shavang's shoulder, there's no wedge, and he can easily turn away from the fulcrum, and there's no more choke here. So the function of bringing my elbow behind Shavang's shoulder is it wedges his head into place. Okay? So now my forearm is doing the job that my bicep and shoulder did in the rear naked choke example. Okay, so that's to set the stage for the next case study, and this is Tye Ruotolo and Mica Galvao in the 2022 Worlds. And here is the scenario. So in this scenario, it was very similar. They had Mica has back control and a seatbelt, but this time the choking arm is on the quote-unquote right side. It's on the bottom. So in this configuration, Tye's top priority is to fight this hand, because if he does not control that hand, then I'm going to make this grip. So he wants to deny this fulcrum at all costs, because once this happens, then I'm going to sit up into my cradle choke or whatever. So he has to prevent this fulcrum from being set. So he's smartly fighting hands here. Meanwhile, Mica is doing all that he can to get this hand free. He also tries to insert his hand on this side, and when he does so, Tye closes this space off so that he can't make a fulcrum on either side. It's really awesome defense. Okay, so there are a couple of adjustments. Nothing's happening here, and so Mica moves on to the next thing. There's a point where he grabs the back of Tye's gi and pulls him like he's going to pull him onto the other side. And what I think his goal was to pull him to this side and to insert a choking hand here. Instead, he comes back, and now finally, he's able to make a fulcrum grip on this side of Tye's head. Immediately, Tye's immediate reaction is to turn away from the fulcrum and to turn around. And now you can see the problem is that once again, my elbow is on the ground, therefore I have no more runway to torque my forearm. So this is a really good defense. Mica follows Tye over. One more time. Turns over, and finally he ends up on this elbow. So everything Tye did to, by the way, just to set the stage, Mica is excellent at strangling people. Like, this is like really both top level offense and top level defense. What's so interesting is that Tye's main goal is to disconnect the forearm from the shoulder. So he's fighting on two fronts. By turning away from the fulcrum, he's reducing my mechanical advantage. We'll talk a lot more about how that works later. But he's also disconnecting the beam from the shoulder, which means I can't wedge his head into place. Okay? So defending strangles is... There's a lot to it, but similar to finishing strangles, if you understand sort of the internal principle of how the strangle works, it enables you to problem solve in real time and to actually reason about problems. In this particular match with Tye and Mica, you know, they're I wouldn't say they're improvising, but they're solving problems in real time based on the reality of the physical world. It's really extraordinary. The same motor pattern that Mica is trying to employ, and the same defensive strategy that Tye uses as countermeasures, that's sort of the game when it applies to strangles in the gi. And if you watch top-level competitors, you'll see different permutations of that fight happening over and over. Try to deny the fulcrum, try to deny the lever, try to beat the wedge. That's sort of the chess match, so to speak.